Hi everyone, the very fact that you guys are viewing this particular webinar means you guys are serious about becoming a full-time trader. Well, if you are someone who has no idea, absolutely no idea how to move towards it, who is actually looking out for things which can actually help you out to become a full-time trader, but you're not getting clear insights for two particular reasons. One is obviously on Google there is plenty of data, but you can't actually authenticate whether it is coming from a full-time trader itself or not. And the second thing is there is so much of clutter out there. There's so much of chaos out there because of over information that you guys are not able to understand whether this is the right approach to become a full-time trader or that is the right approach. So don't worry. If you have come over here in the next couple of minutes, 45 to 50 minutes, you're going to understand all the nuances which are associated with full-time trading as a profession. I, being a full-time trader myself, feel that I'm in a better position to make you guys understand what are the things you need to keep in mind if you are aspiring to become a good full-time trader. So stick around till the end because you're going to learn a lot of those things. And I have a particular trait that I don't believe into a lot of complicated stuffs. I don't believe in jargons. So even though I understand the meanings of a lot of things, I would deliberately not use a few terminologies because I am assuming that the person who is watching this webinar at this point of time may be someone who has advanced knowledge, or it might be a layman also. So I want to make sure that each and every entity who is viewing this webinar should understand all the concepts with ease. So now let's start. So the very first thing, I am Abhishek. For those people who already know me, they don't need any sort of introduction. But in case you have stumbled upon this video webinar and you don't know me, let me tell you, close to 11 years into the market, I've been trading into equities as well as derivatives. My forte is futures trading. So although a lot of people brag about option writing these days, doesn't mean I don't do that. I do option buying, option selling, almost each of those aspects. But I made my major chunk through futures trading. For those people who don't know, to build up a context today, if you want to buy a lot of futures, so futures comes in lot size. So today the price which you need to pay is close to 1.5 lakh rupees. When I used to do a lot of futures trading in the inception years, I could actually carry future lot for as little as 15,000 rupees per lot overnight, which means that of course things have changed today. Of course futures are risky, but that is how I actually started my full-time career. I did burst my accounts almost 3 to 4 times in my career in the initial part, but for the last, I would say 7 years, approximately 7.5 years, I've been consistently profitable. I wouldn't say that I've actually broken the records of a lot of traders to all intents and purposes. That's not what I've done. But yes, I made pretty decent through trading. And that's not the only thing which I'm trying to do at this point of time. I try to educate people. I try to, give back to the society with whatever little I know about trading so far. And I'm still into a learning process. Do I love being a full-time trader? Of course, yes. And now you would be wondering what could be the reason? Because the very first question you need to ask yourself, you want to become a full-time trader, but why? Because if your why is not rightly defined, you might be coming up to become a full-time trader for all the wrong reasons. So let's first decode why you want to become a full-time trader. The foremost answer has to be freedom. That's the key word out here. Now, a lot of people confuse freedom with flaunting. A lot of people think that until unless you don't own a lot of Ducatis, a lot of Benz, a lot of BMWs, a private yacht, jets, that's not exactly freedom. Freedom is basically, today, I'll give you my example. Today in the entire year, if I feel like visiting 5 destinations, spending at least 3 to 4 days out there without even working, I'm able to afford to do that. In fact, every year I used to travel almost 5 places. For the last 2 years, this has gone down to 2 per year for the obvious reasons of COVID, which had actually the pandemic which had hit. But ask yourself how many job holders are able to do that, like with ease, without even addressing to their bosses and without being accountable to anything, just enjoying and spending at least 40 to 50 days in a year in various locations, various parts of India. So that's number one. So freedom is basically you're not trying to, use your time to earn money. You have freedom, liberty to do whatever you love to do. So if you want to become a full-time trader, I have seen one particular thing. A lot of people think that, Yes, I'm a full-time trader. I'm trying to, trade for living, as they say. I'm trying to day trade for living. But on the contrary, they start a living for trading. What does this mean? They are hooked up to the screen every now and then. Even while they are traveling, they can't afford to skip the screen. Well, that certainly defies the purpose of full-time trading, because full-time trading at some point of time means you need freedom. So full-time trading does give you freedom to explore your other passions, other avenues. The best part is, if you are someone who's dealing only with equities, the equity market specifically in India starts from 9:15 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. What does this mean? This means that other than these hours, if you really want to chill out, you want to relax, you can definitely do. Of course, not in the initial years, because those will be the learning years, but eventually you'll be in a position to do that. So this is the first reason why I prefer to become a full-time trader, and why you should also aspire to become a full-time trader, because the kind of freedom which a good full-time trader can get is unimaginable. You can't see that thing into any other profession which is equally rewarding. So that's number one. Second, this is an interesting fact. Growth. So post 2019 and 20, that is post the pandemic, the number of demat accounts which have opened in India have gone up staggeringly up. We have talked about, we all know that the number of demat accounts which have opened are close to 5 crore, if I'm not wrong. But you'll be astounded to know that this is still just 6% of the entire population. Not even of the entire population I'm talking about 6% participation into the capital markets. What does this mean? This means there's still a space of 94%. When we go to developing nations or other nations, even for that matter, China, Japan, and all these places, you would be astounded to know that almost 60 to 70% of the people are still participating from the retail places. And that's why the markets are so matured. This definitely leaves us to a space where if you start aspiring to become a good full-time trader in the next 1 to 3 years, you stand a fair chance to be the early bird and get some advantages. For example, all those people who entered the stock markets in the initial years, they always get an advantage. So the penetration is low. So of course, that's a sort of advantage because the competition, although people say it's very competitive, no, competition is still low if you compare into percentage term. Next, growth. There is no limitation. So for example, when you are even working for a multinational company, your growth is pretty standard. It's like every year, if you work very hard, you're delivering the best results, your growth is somewhere around 10 to 11% per annum, provided you're doing everything good, economy is fine and everything. If economy is doomed up at that point of time, you might not even get a hike. On the contrary, a full-time trader can define his growth based on his skill, his experience. So if a full-time trader acquires decent amount of skill in the next 3 years, he'll be in a better position to get that scale of growth. Second, there's no limitation out there. For example, when you're a full-time trader, there is a possibility you might make 5 digits. Once you have more experience, there's a possibility you might make 6 digits, 7 digits, even 8 digits. So, and I don't really think that in India, making 8 digits even per annum is actually a small sort of income. So that's the kind of possibility which you can actually get if you become a good full-time trader. And ultimately, it's of course the money part for which a lot of people aspire to become this thing. But there's one daunting question which a lot of you might be asking yourself often, and you must have heard people saying that, come on, trading, full-time trading, it's all gambling and all. How do you guys contribute to the society? So let me correct you people based on my experience. I fall into a decent tax bracket. Cumulative goes around 42.8% thanks to major income which comes through trading. But I wouldn't say that everything comes through trading. Yes, almost 60% comes through trading and investing, and rest actually comes through the other avenues. For example, I run my YouTube channel. So on that, at times I do paid sponsored things. Then I have a couple of other businesses outside which are not related to stock market. So this is exactly how I fall over there. But the point I'm talking about here is full-time traders actually pay good taxes. How? They pay STTs. Second, they pay, for example, if you're dealing with futures and options, that's considered as a business. So you're paying on the highest bracket, that is 30% bracket out there. You're paying the brokerages. You're paying so much to the community, which actually goes out and building the nation. So that's number one. Second, full-time traders also help in generating income. How? So for example, only and only a full-time trader. So for example, a full-time trader after a certain year of experience usually trades on a scale. Scale means on a bigger quantities. Now, when they are trading on bigger quantities, they are generating good amount of brokerages, because of which brokers are able to hire and keep good amount of manpower and employees. Not just that, let me tell you, a lot of people aspire to go to IITs and IIMs and all these places without even understanding that the top of the batch, whoever is going to hedge funds, even investment banks for that matter, or prop desk, all these people who are getting a good package of, let's say, 20-30 lakh per annum, they usually land up on trading desks. So yes, a lot of these things are actually associated. And moreover, full-time traders are also creating liquidity in the markets, in the sense, a lot of people think that you should completely leave trading and everyone should become an investor. Just imagine for a while, all these entire liquidity in United States, almost 95% of the day liquidity has been created by traders. So if traders aren't there, the spread between a buyer and seller, spread in the sense, let's say someone is willing to buy at 100 and the seller is at around 100.5, this would actually expand. So the buyer could be sitting at 100 and the seller would be sitting at 110. Now just imagine, a good equity investor may not even get a favorable exit if traders are not a part of the system. So yes, full-time traders, or the traders for that matter, are trying to define the prices of gold, silver, and a lot of other things. So that's actually required. So now straight to the point, what are the important pointers one needs to consider while one is aspiring to become a full-time trader? Now, the very first thing, you need to have a backup capital. Why I'm trying to say, and what is this backup capital? A lot of people, they come into the stock markets thinking that they want to become a full-time trader. They leave their jobs, they leave their colleges, school, everything. They come up with a capital of 1 lakh rupees, and they keep this thing in your mind that with this 1 lakh rupees itself, every month we are going to generate some returns, and out of that itself we're going to pay our bills, rents, loans, etc. That's completely wrong. Why? Let's understand. So there are times in your career, specifically I have seen those days into the stock markets when the markets go sideways. When the markets go sideways, for a typical trader, you may not find as many opportunities as much you get into a trending market. So with that being said, what happens is your returns actually diminish on those particular months or years. Now just imagine, let's say you come around with 1 lakh rupees and you think that, okay, I'm going to generate decent amount of capital, and let's say you're one of the best traders out there who is able to generate 10% per month. That's pretty unrealistic to be consistent, but I'm assuming you are